Hi, so I'm speaking to you from this space of an ancient nunnery, relics of an old nunnery, which was turned into a house. And the nunnery originally was two hermits, and they were the pioneers to the female spiritual home here. And from this space, I thought it was apt to speak about my reflections on the womb. I'm going into my deep menstrual cycle now. My bleeding part of the cycle. And going into that phase, it's called the via negativa by some, the yin. It's this deeply magical, miraculous period of time, because you are suddenly hypersensitive to signs, to words spoken to you, to events. So for example, when I allow myself to let go and go into this cycle, I receive a huge plethora of signs, and they're very delicate and quiet and hushed, but because I'm able to come really soft and silent internally, even if the outside world isn't, then I can receive what's being spoken to me, and it helps direct me. And what I want to say about that as a side note is the importance of knowing that this can happen throughout the cycle, like with all things. Just because the heightened experience of it is at one period of time doesn't mean it's inaccessible in all the other areas. Because as my personality is portrayed, I love balance and wholeness, and I find it hard to consider how we can be in a society, in an age where we can't see the connection between two opposites. So in the menstrual cycle we have the via negativa, which is the bleed, and the positiva, which is the ovulation phase. So the negative, understandingly, is the yin, and the yang is the masculine positive. So inwards is the yin and outwards is the positive. Rest and inaction versus action and outward doing and work. So we, like I've been previously saying in another video, need to learn to live in harmony with both at the same time. Because if we go into the yin and we literally don't do any work at all, we'll feel overwhelmed because we're not learning to balance. So I like to work a balance where I'm perhaps more focusing on the rest and allowing that to infiltrate what work that I do out of joy, without paining myself, but choosing to really accentuate the aspects that are more heightened to me at that time. It's the same. We have two sides of the coin, and in astrology you have one side of the astrology chart where the sun, let's say, is in one zodiac, like now the sun is in Virgo, and the zodiac opposite, because it's circular and holistic, would be Pisces. So they are two opposites. So Virgo is about details, Pisces is about dissolving. So it's the opposite. But for me, what I experience, and I experience this across the whole spectrum of things, is the oneness of opposing forces. I can swim in the in-between, and I feel the wholeness and the connection, that kind of eternal 8 sign. And for me, it's a beautiful concoction of both details and letting go, and I just love it because I learn in this space how to let go of the kind of control over the details, to dissolve them. But I also learn how to choose details over feeling kind of blurry and undefined. So it's this beautiful dance, and that for me is the same with all things. And in the menstrual cycle, it's this dance between I'm in the bleed, but I'm also beyond the menstrual cycle. I am not the menstrual cycle. I am woman, I am menstruation, and yet I'm not, because we're both human and not human, and we have to balance those two to come into reality, because otherwise we can get anchored too weighed down by the earthly structure of the way things are now, without being able to envision perhaps something that, you know, it could be alternative. So it's always standing in this blend, so that we can be forward thinking and present in the now. So that's kind of an insider way that my mind and my body works. The invitation to go inwards and to reconnect with our internal awareness of the time of the bleed is always available, and I believe we are more perceptive to receiving the invitation in our cave time, in our internal cave time, when we want to hide, because our eyes are looking more inwards, and we can then receive the invitation. But that invitation is open to us every single day, so that we can really embody being a woman. You know, what is a woman? Because really that question is coming up so much. What is a woman? It's really essential to consider what a woman is, because we have lost the trail with our predatory snout, has lost how to smell, and our hands and feet are not accustomed to the earth beneath us, and we're losing that animalistic libido drive that's so pure and innocent and wild, and becoming, many of us are becoming quite clinical. So it's essential to balance again this back to our earthy nature, which is why I'm out in nature right now, albeit with my phone. And it is like the womb to me is the labyrinth spiral. So you go in and around and around and around and around and around and around. And this is the way to honor the woman, the feminine, because she is not cutting through, like dishonoring any part of the path and the journey. She is not, whilst that is quite masculine, the masculine arrow, which is great, but not if it's inhibiting on or overly obtrusive in an imbalanced way. We need to honor the raw expression of those two polars. One, the direct Roman masculine, straight to it, which is a great energy, and then the other is the feminine, which is a concentric, circular, journeying energy, and we have both of these in us. And the bleed allows us to reconnect to this labyrinth where we go round and round, and we don't cut any, there are no corners in a circle, but we don't cut across. We really have to journey each part, and however far we're willing to go, we'll re-pick it up the next time we choose to go. And I think this is one of the most important topics. Menstruation, feminine embodiment, the womb, the sacral are the most important topics at this moment, because we don't really understand them. And it's so important to rebalance, because they contain the codes for nature. The way that the rhythms and the cyclical way of nature works is exactly the same as a woman. So we've lost our womanhood, understanding of our womanhood, and so the earth suffers, and that's a mirror. So it's not some kind of weird internal work, it's like really so within, so without. And this is my approach to the climate crisis and the future. So embracing this labyrinth spiral and the nature of this inward feminine is essential, because we don't understand what that looks like paired with outward action. We don't really know how to blend it until it's all one, and we need to tone it, really home in on the voice of the feminine, because we're so used to not homing in on it. Like it's actually an illusion to us how much we've homed out of it. We're so disconnected. And it's a relief to realize that, because then you can really go deep into your into the bottom of your buttocks and really sink into the ground and accept, okay, I don't know this, and I'm ready to really receive this now and to unearth this treasure within me, and the extreme embodiment that can occur, and the sensuality and the power and the wild nature which is longing to be embodied and is contained in a small pure seed within you. So this invitation of the womb, and I haven't even approached the topic I was going to talk about, is, as I said, when we're bleeding, if we stop and rest, we can actually tune into this and expand this throughout our whole cycle and our whole lives. So what can become unraveled are our inner shadows and our inner darkness, and these are the significant topics that we need to piece apart and to work through. The inner shadows of our psychology, our psyche, because these are what's awaiting us, and often it's the shrouded feminine and our misconceptions about what she is. A whole plethora of topics to dive into. I'm going to leave this video there. So leaving that on that note, really, the shadow, the reality of who you are, the kind of monstrosity of who we really are under the layers, and that blending and that unity between the scary and the light and the happy and the nice on the outside. But we have everything within us, so it's all open to excavation. So happy excavating. Thank you for watching, and really allow yourself to be empowered as you dive in to your own femininity, wherever you are in your lives. Thank you.